When I started seeing my therapist again, she asked me a very pointed question. Has anybody ever talked to you about ADHD? And I took a moment and I said, probably not in the way you're going to talk to me about it. And we had a long conversation and I didn't really follow up because I wasn't sure, right? I think that I maybe demonstrate some aspects of ADHD where it comes to kind of distraction, but also then getting like that deep focus on trying to solve a problem. But there are some things that today's guest mentioned that I don't feel I have, like time blindness or uh, kind of losing track of time and travel times, the working memory stuff. Um, so it's possible. But what I do know is that the things that Skye talked about today, the processes she has put in place to help people with ADHD be more productive and run a better business. That stuff really resonated with me. I think that brain friendly systems for professionals who want to do it all is, as she said, not just something for people with ADHD, but it's for people who the conventional productivity tips may not resonate with. And so I think that there are a lot of really great things in this conversation. I'm really excited for you to hear it. Skye's system is just fantastic. And I'm glad to finally talk about this topic on the show. So I'd love to hear your feedback on it, by the way. Write in at streamlinedfeedback.com to let me know what you think. You can find all of the links in the description and the show notes for this episode. But I really want to get into the interview. So without further ado, here is my interview with Skye Waterson. All right, I am here with Skye Waterson. Skye is an ADHD strategist, coach, and founder of Unconventional Organization. Skye, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming on the show. I'm really excited about this. You are the first kind of ADHD subject matter expert, I would say, that I've had on the show. And since shifting to focusing on processes and systems, I think your pitch came at the perfect time. By the way, for those listening, Skye pitched the show perfectly. So, I don't accept many, but this one was like a lock. I was like, this is great. So we're going to talk about, we're like ushering a new era of interview here at the Streamlined Solopreneur, where we're going to focus on case studies for solopreneurs, like solopreneurs who have built specific systems, why they did it, and how it's helped them. But this is our prologue, we'll say, right? Because you're going to talk to us about unconventional systems, brain-friendly systems for professionals who want to do it all. So let's start with a question I don't normally ask, but I think it's important to establish in your own words, is tell us a little bit about who you are and the kind of work that you do.
Yeah, so my name's Skye. I live in New Zealand, but mostly work with the US, and I essentially help people who are business owners or executives who are managing their ADHD to do that successfully. Like, I found out that I had ADHD for myself when I was starting my PhD, which is a really unusual time to find out you have ADHD, but I had crashed around to get to that space. You know, I was doing well and then I wasn't doing well, and so I was trying to figure it out. And so I thought, if I'm going to do a PhD, I'm going to have to figure out what's going on. I went to my university's learning center, and they tested me for a couple of hours, and then they said, we think you should get tested for ADHD. And I had taught ADHD and autism as part of development in university. That was how much we didn't talk about the idea that it could be in adults. So it was a huge shift for me, and really threw my whole research journey and just life journey on a totally different path.
Yeah, that's really interesting. My friend was actually recently diagnosed as an adult, and something that she mentioned that could be your experience too is that ADHD is something that really like helps in early school, like early education, and once you get to like college where it's less structured, or university where it's less structured, it could really show itself. Was that kind of your experience as well?
Yeah, I was your classic like highly masking. I was like, I'm pretty sure everyone else is just working on weekends and evenings and making really intense schedules that they completely throw away by Tuesday. I think everyone else is just lying about how much work this is. And so it made a lot of sense for me to then, continue in academia, because the idea of trying to figure out the job market was a whole other thing, especially when I graduated, which was around the same time as the recession. And so it was, I was just like, I'm just going to keep in university, keep going, become an academic. But that journey, yeah, it definitely had its own struggles. And in some ways, I think it's one of the reasons I ended up in entrepreneurship, because you had to learn how to run your own projects.
Yeah, that's again, that's really interesting. I shared a little with you in the kind of pre-interview, like green room thing. But my therapist has asked me about if someone talked to me about ADHD, and one of the things that she keyed in on was that she asked if I have a problem with authority, and I would say I don't think I have a problem with authority. I just have a problem with seemingly arbitrary and capricious rules, and so I feel like that's part of the reason that I became an entrepreneur, right? Is that I need to do my own thing, and I need a good reason why, if you're gonna make me do something. Which frustratingly, my kids, not frustrating for me, but good for them, they've gotten that from me.
Similar, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll do well, but it's really biting me as a parent. Cool. Okay, so you were diagnosed at university. And so what was maybe the first thing you started to do to build the systems, right? Like maybe you can give us a little, like, what was life like before systems that I assume led you to seek this diagnosis, and then what did you start to do after to help yourself?
Yeah, so the systems that I had before, I would consider them to be everything in the kitchen sink. I was really dragging. I was very focused on productivity. I was always very obsessed with it, but I would just bring in everything. Like, oh, that worked one time. I should totally do it. And it was leading to a lot of the burnout that I was experiencing, which kind of led me to get the diagnosis in the first place. What I found, immediately, because this was my background, I started doing two things. I created a postgraduate community for other people who had ADHD. I wanted to learn from other people. And I also started researching. I had access to a lot of academic research. And then what really started the business, honestly, is I started writing articles. To help myself stay accountable, I started writing articles or blogs on a website about ADHD and what I was learning. And I referenced them because I can't help it. Even today, it has to have a reference in it. And so, I used to post those on Facebook. They did really well at the time. I was kind of the only person doing that, really. And I started to bridge that gap between very esoteric neuroscience papers and practical strategies for myself initially, and then for other people.
That's great. You mentioned that you entered the job market around the recession, so I'm clocking you as around the same age as me. I graduated from college in 2007, got my master's in 2009, and so I love the kind of blogging. I really miss that blogging was like the primary way.
It was a thing. You could literally write an article, put it on Facebook, and then thousands of people would read it. Right.
Yeah. Like where I could like tweet a link and people would actually click it. Right. Like that was nice. I hope we're coming back to that. I think we are.
Substack's doing pretty well.
Yeah. Substack is, I'm writing more over on Substack actually. And then also, I just got to say this, like the references, I wrote a web development book back when I was a web developer full time. And one of the notes from my editor was, you are citing too many sources. And I'm like, that's crazy to me. Like,
yeah.
What do you mean?
How would you know where everything came from?
Yeah. They're like, you're the expert. And I'm like, I'm the expert because of these people though. So we inserted more of my thoughts and just kind of cited like the big picture stuff. But I think that's probably, I taught at the college level for a long time, so like academia was just kind of like deeply embedded in me.
Yeah, it gets in your bones.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, okay, so you started to do, now I feel like I'm all over the place, but I think something that a lot of solopreneurs, business owners, maybe just productivity nerds struggle with is like shiny object syndrome. I can tell, my friend knows, it's like clockwork. Every 6 months, I'll tell him I'm looking at a new task manager.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so is this like, is this something that you think about and work with? Or do you try to stick to the same tool set?
Yeah, so what I've developed, and I think this is kind of unique, is I've developed a task, an app agnostic system. So it's a system, it's not about how you use it, although there are some strategies and systems that are very not friendly for an unconventional brain. I can talk about that if you want. But the systems that I've developed, you can use them if you're a paper person, if you're using Notion, if you're using, ClickUp. You can use them across different platforms because people had such different perspectives, and I never found, and still haven't found, there's something that really fits everything, especially now. Things change so fast.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would actually love to hear a little bit about like what did you say, some of the things that maybe don't work as well, or like, so I'll tell you, like, I really wanted to like Things 3, if we're talking specifically about task managers right now. I really wanted to like Things 3. And I just found myself going back to Todoist because it's like more flexible or whatever. But I know we don't want to get into the nitty gritty, but that stuff is very curious to me, or is very interesting to me, I should say.
Yeah. So the biggest struggles, obviously if you have ADHD, you struggle with impulsivity, distraction, that kind of thing. But then you struggle with executive functioning, which honestly gets like a tiny mention, but it's a huge impact on people's lives. So that's working memory, time blindness, transition times, those kinds of pieces. And so when you're looking at a task manager, the one I always say first is, you know those people who have those tiny little paper diaries that's just enough space to write doctor's appointment, doctor 12 p.m. and that's it. And they live their life by those little diaries. That is the most un-ADHD friendly thing you could humanly do. So it's sort of moving back from there. We need space. We need to write down everything. We're going to forget it if we don't. We need to be able to access it super quickly. Like, don't make me click 3 buttons to find one thing, or I'm going to lose the thing. And we need to be able to see it across time. Like, okay, that's cool. It's a Wednesday, but like, what does Wednesday look like? What happens in the morning? What happens in the evening? Travel time. We need that kind of visual ability to see what's going on.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I think that's, I mean, I guess like in my own experience, like my iPad is right over here and it's got like my calendar and Todoist. I often think about like Obsidian because it's like super. Or not.
I
Obsidian.
tried it.
Obsidian is. I tell people Obsidian is great for web developers because it's But I misspoke. I actually meant OmniFocus because that's like really customizable as a task manager. For me, I find like with those tools, I spend more time customizing than actually using. So I definitely need to be reeled in. Probably because I'm a developer and I can do a lot of that stuff. I'm like, I can, and so I need to be put in a box. But that's really interesting to me. My brother has one of those diaries, and like just it's always in his back pocket, and he always just kind of references it.
Pulls it out, 3 p.m. appointment. No notes about what it is or where it is. Start fun.
That's awesome. So with this context, let's talk about building your system. So you did a bunch of research, some focus groups, you blogged a lot. You it sounds like you gathered way more data than I would ever gather to do anything. I'm like a ready, fire, aim kind of guy probably. But so how did you come up with, build this system? Yeah.
So initially what I did was once I read the research on it, so there's research into things like dopamine transfer deficit, which indicates that we don't get the same dopamine boost when we start a task. Like that's super helpful for me when I'm teaching people how to actually do tasks that are super boring.
And when you
Yeah.
say, I'm sorry, when you say we, do you mean folks with ADHD or human beings in general?
Oh, I mean, folks with ADHD.
Okay, cool.
If I'm talking about folks who don't have ADHD, I'll usually say neurotypical, just to
Oh,
clear everything up.
interesting. Okay, cool. Good to know. Thanks.
Yeah. But yeah, so when I looked at that information, the first thing obviously I did, because I was in academia doing my PhD, I used it on myself. I tested it, see if it works. And then from there, I was working with one-on-one clients. I work with less one-on-one clients now. I mostly have a coaching program, but I still have one-on-one clients because I'm always working with them. If it's helpful, I'll bring it in, we'll test it, we'll see what works. And so I was able to use that to say, okay, I've done the research, I've tried it on myself, it's worked. I've tested it on numerous other people with different backgrounds who have ADHD, it's worked for them as well. And then it became one of the sort of 8 programs and processes that I teach. So I don't teach like a million tips, which is one of the things people like about my UO system. It's not like, do this and also this and don't forget this and you should try this, because that just gets as overwhelming as anything else.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's like, oh my gosh, what's the term for it? Generally, analysis paralysis, right? Like you tell somebody to do a bunch of things and they're like, which one should I start with? Cool. I really like that. And then I guess to just to make it clear, like I forget now if we said this before we started recording, but these systems can also work for like neurotypical folks, right?
Oh yeah, they can work for people. I mean, they're mostly related to executive functioning, and executive functioning struggles occur if you have head trauma, if you have mental health struggles, if you have, a whole bunch of issues. So it generally will work for people who just feel like the normal systems aren't working for them.
Yeah, I think one of the the impetus for me like going in the direction I started going in was I have we have 3 small children, and I want to be present for them, and my wife's a nurse, so she has a non-typical work schedule, and I'm self-employed, so I have a non-typical work schedule, and I think things just got not rigid enough for me, and I felt my brain power going in too many different directions at once. Thinking about the kids, or if it's like really noisy upstairs, or just a million things we have to do. And so I definitely felt a marked change when I had kids, that it sounds like some of this stuff would be super helpful for me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, the things that I focus on, what I teach are how to focus, how to get your time back, and then how to get consistent revenue. Those are the 3 spaces. And most people come to me because they're just in that, I don't even know what to do. I'm running a business, but I literally spent, I have people who are running very successful businesses who are like, don't tell anyone, but I spent today refreshing my email. That's kind of the general energy that people come to me with.
Yeah. Gosh, I really resonate with that. My yearly theme is the year of being present, because I want to try to be like, I'll be on a Zoom call and I'll get bored and I'll go over here and I'll check my email or whatever. And like, I don't want to do that, right? I want to be present. So I'm not like, wait, I'm sorry. What did you say?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We've been talking a lot about the system. What's the name of the system, and walk us through it?
Yeah. So let's start with the first one. So the whole program is called Unconventional Organisation, or UO. That's the program that I teach. And the first thing, and I actually give this away. You guys can just message me on Instagram. You can message me streamlined. Otherwise, I won't give it to you.
Nice.
And then, one of the things that we focus on is, okay, what is the most urgent task that I need to do right now? What is truly urgent? Because I've had people, whether they're making their first 1,000 or their, second million, and they swear up and down that they have 200 tasks to do today. Most people have under 5 truly urgent tasks. And so I have a very quick and simple system that I teach that works across all the different platforms we've talked about to help you understand what those are. So I can take you through that now if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be great. This is
Awesome.
First of all, I love you're saying this, because I had a boss in my last real person job, quote unquote, where like he basically said, you like You will do 3 things today. That's all I expect you to do. When you do them, let me know, sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of like that, except as our own bosses, we have to be the person who picks those 3 things. And
Yeah.
what people tend to find is if they don't use something like the system, they will not do the thing because they'll be like, oh, maybe it's not truly urgent. So the first thing you do is you go ahead and you just brain dump all of the tasks that are in your head. So don't go to your old task list. Don't use this opportunity to like pull up your email. Like just focus on what's in your head, what's cluttering up your working memory, and write those things down. And I've seen people do this for like 10 minutes without stopping. It's amazing what's in our brain once we get started. And then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and you're going to identify, okay, what needs to be done today, or there will be a significant external negative consequence of it not being done tomorrow. So there will be a podcast that I'm not prepared for, or there will be a bill that I haven't paid, or my kid will be like, hey, you're supposed to pick me up. Like, what is happening? Like, that makes it urgent and a negative consequence. I'll feel bad. I said I would, but they don't care. These things don't make it truly urgent. We might still get to it, but we need to know if we had an emergency day, we had to leave the office, go do something else, what would we still have to do on our phones before we closed up for the day? Like that's the information that we need.
That's such great framing. Like that's because that you're right in that you can look at your old task list or check your email and then new things get added and they seem more urgent because they're newer until you do them maybe. This is something that's really helped me is at the end of my day, usually when I'm going to get my kiddos, I use an app called Whisper Memo to just like word vomit into that. And I talk at it for, the developer just made it so that you can talk for 90 minutes, which is a lot. That's too long. But I'll talk for like 3 to 7 minutes about just everything I'm thinking about. And I now send that to via Zapier to ChatGPT, and I have it make a list of the tasks it hears and put them in my inbox and Todoist like that.
Love that.
Because otherwise I'm just like I'm not present with my kids. I'm thinking about the stuff that I didn't do or that I have to do.
Yeah, I love that.
Cool. All right, cool. I love this. So write everything in your brain down and think about the consequences of not doing those things.
Exactly. And also Unconventional Organization, if you want the whole process, I will give it to you because I want you to have this. And then the next thing that you want to do is you want to go, okay, now that we've gone through what's urgent, what's important? Because that's where it becomes really interesting. What we talk about is the 80-20. If we know a goal, if we know the direction, if you're a business owner, usually your goal is like, what are we doing? Like work-life balance, money combo are we going for this year? And so that goal, we need to understand what is the piece of your business right now that's truly moving you closer to that. What, if you focused on it, would really ramp it up and help you grow much faster. There's all the shiny stuff. There's always the shiny stuff. And then there's the stuff that's actually working currently that we want to focus on. So that usually what I'll get people to do is I'll get them to go through the remaining tasks and pull out 1 to maximum 3 things that they want to do that week that are truly going to drive their business forward. And it's amazing. It's not always what you think. People are like, right, it's time to hire that person. I've been putting it off. And then we go through how to actually set it up in your calendar so that you'll actually do it, and then how to get it done consistently. And that's where we get into the next stage of the focus process.
Cool. Okay, so here I suspect is where where your program could be really helpful, right? Because I know for me, left to my own devices, I'd be like, well, it's really important for me to post short form videos on LinkedIn because I read an article last week saying I should do that, right?
Yeah.
So like, do you or is there a framework to offer guidance for that's like actually important?
Yes, yeah. If you do the first part in the
Right.
thing that I sent you, there's an option to do the second part. I actually do let people do a little audit. I shouldn't really, but I love fixing this problem because it's like so. I shouldn't send them a video, but I like it because I want to help you. Because the thing is that it is interesting. What is your true 80/20? Because even the way you say to me, like, oh, like I heard that I should be doing this. I'd be like, okay, well, the first thing we need to do is what is your data? Like, what is the thing that's truly making you money? Is it that? Or is it, for me, it used to be blogs. What is the thing that's truly growing your audience? How can we grow that rather than going to a new space, especially with things like lead generation? And this is where the ADHD business combo becomes really interesting. It's like you really want to hit one thing, focus on it, grow it, and then automate it out of your life before you go and pick something else.
Yeah, love that. Also, you gave me a really good opening here, so I will say automation is like the thing that I do really well.
Yeah.
So if y'all want to get my automation templates, you can go to casabona.org/join. It'll all be in the show notes, including Skye's Instagram to get the first part of your framework. Is that what?
Yeah,
the first part of your
it's the
system?
first part, and then the link to do the second part. So. Yeah, and then I think the next question people often ask me is, okay, cool, that's great, Skye, but like, I'm not going to do the thing. Like, I already know what I need to do and I refuse to do it. What are you going to do about that? And the answer is something very simple that usually works within about 2 weeks. So one of the biggest things I'd say for people who now know what's important, but they don't want to do it because it's boring or it's confusing or the last time they did it, someone yelled at them, that happens all the time, is we go through and we step into focus. And the first thing you want to do is actually give yourself a reward for starting that activity, which is it seems really strange, but it's actually based on neuroscience and the dopamine deficit transfer theory that I was talking about before.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, right? Like, again, we're training a dog right now, and the person helping us is like, every time he does something well, every single time he listens, give him a treat. And the same thing, our youngest still is maybe struggling a little bit with potty training. We give her M&Ms every time she goes on the potty, right? Like,
yeah.
So
and for us, it's like every time we sit at the desk with the intention of working on this task, we get a reward. So we don't just get it at the end. Our brain doesn't really notice that it's happening at the end, and we just kind of ignore it because we're adults. We'll still do something nice at the end, but just the break is the reward. And so what we want to do at the beginning is we want to say, like, okay, what can we eat? What can we taste? Like, sit down at your computer and read an article and listen to some music, and then let's write out the list of tasks, on a little piece of paper that you're going to get done during this period of time, like break it down. Then you're, kind of stepping into focus rather than just white knuckling yourself into focus, which never works unless the deadline is imminent and you want to risk burnout.
Yeah, I really like that because it almost, on top of like rewarding yourself for starting, it sounds like it helps you switch context a little bit too. Like you sit down, you do this and you're like, okay, I am in this context. Now, I want to go back for a second because I talked about my ridiculous AI automation where I like word vomit and then it makes tasks in Todoist.
Yeah.
Do you recommend, at least for folks with ADHD, that they actually write it down on a piece of paper by hand, or like, is it like whatever works for them? I don't want to step on that point if it's like important.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. I say whatever works for you. So one of the things I know is that a lot of people with ADHD have processing issues of some kind. Some of you, this might be the first time you know that, but you're welcome. And so if you're the kind of person who's like, I have to write it down, you probably do have to write it down. So please write it down. If you're the kind of person who's like, if it's on the computer, I totally get it, I can work with it, no worries at all. Let's use the computer.
Cool. Good to know. I feel like I go back and forth. I also have like a vast fountain pen collection, so I love writing stuff down anyway. Writing while I'm driving to daycare, though, is probably not advisable.
No.
Okay, cool. So we've now entered the calendar focus part, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're getting to a point now. So we're basically what we've moved through, and there's a few other things we talk about, decision making, things like that. We've moved through focus. We're now into like getting your time back. So the first thing we do to get your time back is stop you from procrastinating for hours and hours and not doing the thing. Like that's number one. We save a lot of time doing that. And then from there, we're moving into, okay, you're a business owner. So at this point, if you're focusing and you're doing the thing, you should feel a little bit more confident about the idea of your team. We probably do want you to hire someone in the admin space. That's a huge benefit if you're somebody who has this unconventional kind of brain. And so, but it's important to know how. Like I talk to so many people and they're like, nope, I did it once and it was the worst thing and it stressed me out. I'm never doing it again. And it turns out that they like hired somebody that they barely knew who was recommended and they never checked and they didn't do test projects and they didn't, there's a whole bunch of, there's a system to hiring, leading, and giving tasks to people that has to be as neurodiverse ADHD friendly as doing the tasks themselves. A lot of people, when they realize that, they're like, oh no, I thought I was done. Now there's a whole other level. Welcome to business ownership. And so we go through that.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important. And I was lucky to have somebody to like guide me through that, because I would have done, my VA is in the Philippines. She's been with me for like 5 years, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
And like if she left me, I like constantly make sure I'm like paying her like a proper living wage, and because if she left me, I don't like things would crumble. Like like this show gets published because of her. And so But like if I hadn't known to do the test project, or like for her it's like I record myself doing the task and then delegating properly, I would have let her go like way sooner.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have systems and process docs so that if she did leave, someone else could take over the task?
Yeah. So here's the wonderful part of the thing that like I record the video, I have her transcribe it and then write out the steps.
Nice.
And then that becomes the handbook.
Yeah.
Right? So I do have that.
Yeah. I have that buy back your time sort of process, but I will say I work with a lot of people and myself as well who refuse to do the task and record it because they're too ADHD. And so if you're that person, just jump on like a ChatGPT, hit audio record, talk to it, get it to break down like the different systems for you. You'd be surprised. Give it to your person, get them to use that, and then have a meeting where you talk about it and record the meeting. And so there's other ways. So one of the things we look at is like how to do an SOP when you never ever want to think about the task again for more than like 5 minutes, which is a real thing.
Yeah. Seriously, like when if she's like on vacation or I'm late getting an episode and I have to publish the episode, I always miss like 3 steps. Yep. I'm just like, what am I doing? This is why I don't do it anymore. Okay, you mentioned Buy Back Your Time. Is that the Dan Martell book?
Yeah. So his system of like, obviously his system of getting time back, I think is quite helpful. He talks about having ADHD as well, but he does talk about recording his videos, and Dan Martell is awesome, but I could never figure out how to record my videos. So I adjusted it. I'm sorry, Dan.
No, this is good to know. That's Nathan Barry sent me that book.
Oh yeah.
And I have not read it, and I perhaps I should.
It's a pretty good book, yeah.
Nice. I got really selective about business books because like I just read like too many terrible ones in a row.
Yeah, it is hard.
Yeah. Have you heard of the Getting Things Done? Have you read the Checklist Manifesto? Yes, we've all read the Checklist Manifesto at this point.
It's very graphic at the beginning. Somebody sent it to me and I was like, I did not know this was about doctors, and I was a bit squeamish.
Me neither. It's so funny because my wife mentioned him to me and I'm like, how do you know this guy? And she's like, he wrote a book about being a doctor and like doctor processes. And I'm like, oh, dang.
These days really, I mostly read primary academic articles. I'm just that nerdy.
So delegating, creating SOPs, getting your time back. What's next here? Or
Yeah. Well, the next thing, it gets kind of cool. So at this point, you are focusing. And the thing I love about these systems, and the reason I built them like this, is it's not a one-stop shop. Like, people complain to me. They're like, Skye, it's been a year and you're in my head. Like, once you build these systems, they will work all the time. So you'll feel more focused consistently. You'll get your time back consistently. And then from there, we want to grow consistent revenue because we're running a business. And so that's where time blindness and dopamine really start to come in. Because the things that can really affect you at this point is you don't have a good handle on the overall visual of your business, and you go and like self-sabotage and go off on a shiny thing. So this is the point where I really tell people, hey, you need to not let your business be your source of dopamine. Up until this point, it's been a massive source of dopamine for you, the sales, the whole thing. This is a good time to go get a hobby, find something else that, it can be exciting, it can be really intense, but it's time for us to like find a dopamine support and start putting it into your calendar so that you have the energy day to day, and it doesn't matter if your business is just doing the same thing.
I'm approaching 500 episodes of this show, and that might be my favorite advice ever, because for like 10 years now, because again, I came from the web development space, and a lot of us were self-taught, and I would hear a lot of, oh, I don't have a lot of hobbies, my job is my hobby, or like, I just like, oh, I like doing this, so I keep doing this. And I'm like, surely you have other interests. I play the drums, I watch the Yankees, I smoke cigars. Like, I have many hobbies. And so like I think this is so important. Like, out like the dopamine hit, yes, but like also just getting other perspectives from other things. Like, I think having a hobby is so important.
There's a time to like lock in, and when you're building, like, it's a good time to lock in, but it's good to know when to add to your repertoire of things, when to put down the business book just for a minute and do something else. And it's just, I've seen it so many times. People will start and say, I have to build a second business now. It's like, is your first business at $1 million? Well, maybe just keep building this business, like, let's just keep going. And so, it's because we often thrive on stress. And that's totally fine. That's part of our ADHD. It's one of the things that make us great at entrepreneurship. But when your business is good, then you can actually come in and cause stress.
Really, really smart. Really smart. I like that a lot. I'll also just say, like, maybe I got lucky, and maybe this was like crystallized for me like in college, is I was really like racking my brain on a problem for like hours, and my friends like Joey, anybody who met me before 2009 calls me Joey. So they're like, Joey, just like kind of like the coffee shop, they're doing like a acoustic singer thing. Why don't you just come and like get your mind off of this? And like I solved the problem like 10 minutes into the set. Like literally like in the Facebook movie, The Social Network, like I wrote it down on the back of a napkin. So it's like, let yourself turn off a little bit too, I think.
Yeah, it's okay. Especially, we combine that with, understanding your business metrics, getting good at understanding your data. And I'm not a math person, so I say this as a not a math person. And that sort of thing, those two things combined, it's so nice. You automate, feels so good. Yeah, that's where we want you to get to.
Yeah, 100%. Now I know that we've been talking for a bit. I'm not sure how many more steps are in this process. Though I do want to get to like, oh, fantastic. This is,
like I said,
totally
there's specific steps and we go deep. We're not.
Love it. Okay. So we've laid out the system. Tell us a little bit about the impact. Like what changes have you seen? What changes have your clients seen? Because I feel like this is like the way that you're framing everything is, I feel, legitimately different from what I've heard a lot of, right? And so like I'd love to hear the success stories.
Yeah, gosh, I love that question. I think the biggest success stories is always from people who are like, I am now present for my family and I don't want to fire everybody every second Tuesday, but don't know how to hire anybody. And I feel confident, a lot of the time. So I've had clients, I've got a client, sometimes people want to share and sometimes they don't. So I appreciate both of them. But, I've had people like Simon Mundy, who works for the BBC and now runs his own business as well. I've had Lisa Ballard, who works for Google in sales. And, I've had lots of cool people, career coaches, roofers, tattoo artists, like so many people across the world. And really it has been just that feeling of I'm okay. Like I'm doing good and I'm going to keep doing good, and it doesn't have to feel painful and it can feel good and right for my brain. A lot of people are like, oh, I think I was kind of trying to do that the whole time. I didn't even realize. And I can make money and I can have a family and like be present. And for me, that just makes it all worth it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I can really see like roofers or people who have like a hard skill, or like, I mean, even like the self-taught web developer, right? Like we started doing something because we were good at a thing and then kind of fell into a business.
Yeah.
And then
we're like,
now we
gotta
need to
make money, gotta figure
business.
it out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's amazing. And I think like you said, like kind of like labeling it is really like, the first time my therapist said it sounds like you're overstimulated, I had never heard that term before. I didn't watch Bluey enough with my kids, I think, because they talk about it there. But it like was really just knowing it had a name was like a game changer to me.
Yeah.
So like just like knowing is half the battle, to quote.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And once you know it, it gets in your brain, it sticks with you, and you can't unlearn it. Sorry, not sorry.
Okay, so you've already given us the first step, so I feel like this is really contrived because people are going to DM you on Instagram, the word streamlined. But for solopreneurs listening who feel overwhelmed, what's their first step?
Yeah, so you can find me on unconventionalorganisation.com. You can find me at Instagram, Unconventional Organisation, and I will message you. And yes, it is me. And that is with an S, because I didn't realize I'd be working with a bunch of people from the US when I started this business. And you can also find me at the ADHD Skills Lab. We talk about strategies, we talk about entrepreneurs' experiences, we go into the research, and you might see Joe there, in the near future as well.
Hey, awesome. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that it's with an S, because I totally would have found the wrong one.
Yeah, I know. I think about that sometimes. It keeps me up at night. How many people are looking for my Unconventional Organization with a Z?
Yeah. Can you grab it? Or does somebody already have it?
That's a great question. I'm going to go do that right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Good thing we're not live streaming, right? This is so it could be both. Everything that Skye just mentioned will be in the show notes. I want to do something that actually AI recommended while I was putting together this outline that I think is interesting, because I like the quick hits idea and I usually don't do it. But let's just do it really quick, right? What is your favorite task manager?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think right now it's Notion. Like I've been through so many. I'm liking Notion, but I will say for the record, it's because my team likes Notion and they make it pretty and then I use it. So
yeah, that's like so clutch for Notion, I think. Like I didn't use Notion until my friend Kat, who's really good at Notion, invited me to one, and I was like, oh, it could look like this and not just like what's happened here sort of thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. And then so the recommended question here is go-to tool for time management. So what's the go-to tool for time management? And I'm going to follow on with, do you time track? Because I'm really interested in that too.
Yeah, that is a great question. So the go-to tool for time management, honestly, I'm gonna go old school. I think having like any form of external clocks in the house, like just go nuts, find pretty ones, find visual timers, externalize your time in multiple different ways. It's going to help. I don't use timers. I literally have one on my desk right here and I don't use it because I am a real big fan of natural timers. So I'll use things like cups of tea and how long it takes to use the microwave. And I sort of build out a system based on that.
Cool. I like that a lot. Also a big fan of clocks. I don't know if it's in frame over here, but I have like a record cut.
I can
it's
see
Walt
that.
Disney. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool. It was like so outside Philly, they call Secret Santa Pollyanna. They're the only place I've heard that calls it that. So this is a Pollyanna gift from my wife's cousin, which is really nice.
Nice.
Cool. All right. And then I guess the last question here, I'm not going to ask this last question here, but what's your favorite use of AI? I'm like really hesitant to ask that because I've been AI hesitant, but also it's just like there are so many use cases lately as it's gotten smarter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, AI is really interesting. I am not anti AI. I'm anti getting lost in AI or letting AI take over your life. I would say I'm still a very solid ChatGPT. So like if I have an email or something that I just mentally cannot comprehend, I will throw it into ChatGPT, especially if I'm in like a low executive functioning part of the day, and say like, this is kind of what I want to say, write me something. And I have actually gone to the trouble at some point of building out like, these are kind of what I write generally, so you have a sense of it. So usually I do that. Occasionally I will throw something into ChatGPT if it's really long and say like, what is this person asking me? Because, and then I'll reread it. Like, so it's just like, sometimes I just use it as like an extra little bump for executive functioning when I'm feeling tired in the afternoon.
I really like that. The what is this person asking me is so perfect because sometimes it's long and you can't really tell. And it's
And
like,
I don't
it's
want to
almost
miss
like,
something. Yeah.
right. It's almost like, you know how you watch a movie and then you watch it again and you notice all these things because you know how it ends. So you're like kind of focused on, it's almost like that, right? What is this person asking me? They're asking me this. Okay. Now I can read it and actually understand the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So that's usually my go-to.
Awesome. Well, Skye Waterson, thank you so much for joining us today. This has sincerely been one of my favorite episodes. It's just been so great.
I'm so glad. It's been great to be here.
Yes. And thank you for listening. And until next time, I hope you find some space in your week.